What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode of Moonshot Monday. Today I'm going to pitch that Starbucks buys the robotic barista company CafeX. Now I'm here in San Francisco, and I was recently reading the book Angel by Jason Calacanis, and he mentions a company he's invested in that he thinks is super exciting, a company called CafeX that is this vision of creating robotic baristas to get you, your amazing quality craft coffee in less time for cheaper by leveraging robots to make it instead of humans. So the second I heard about this, I was immediately intrigued. The more research I did, I found out that this company is actually open. They have cafes you can go to. I got one of their cappuccinos today. I'm left with the conclusion that this is inevitably the future of a huge piece of the coffee industry, and CafeX represents a systematic threat to companies like Starbucks, and they should get ahead of the curve and acquire this company. So now let's take a step back and talk a little bit about the experience of CafeX. So I went into one of their cafes, super modern. They're also selling a little bit of snacks, like I believe they have mochi donuts as well, but the main thing is coffee. So they have a bar of like iPad sort of devices where you can go up, order your coffee, tap in, what exact type of drink you want. I picked a cappuccino, that's my go-to, but you can choose all, cortado, latte, whatever you want, although they only had hot drinks in this location. Then you can further customize your cup of coffee by actually choosing which exact roaster you want to select for your blend. You can also choose, how much sugar you want in your coffee. I actually really like that because I like less sugar. Usually if I say normal, they make it way too sweet, so I love that. And then bam, you click a button, they give you a passcode, and then they say they're gonna text you when your order's ready. So I typed in my order, and then I was looking, and you literally see the robot. Although he is a robot barista, but it's basically him picking up and moving cups of coffee from like a Keurig-esque device down to serve you. But it is just so cool, and it took me like 1 or 2 minutes from ordering my cappuccino to having it ready in my hand. The robot barista was also working on somebody else's coffee while he made mine. I mean, the efficiency was super like just apparent. And when I had my cup of CafeX coffee, it was amazing. Like, this was an incredible cappuccino, like on par with the quality of like your favorite coffee shop down the corner that would usually cost $5 or $6. And what's so incredible about this is that it works in the real world, that I paid for it, I loved it, but that right around the corner, literally, or not even around the corner, like 4 stores down from CafeX was a Starbucks. And so I went into the Starbucks and like immediately got this vibe of like going into a throwback era that was like less clean, not quite as dope as CafeX. I asked the Starbucks baristas how much it cost to get the smallest possible cappuccino, and they said it was like $3.95 plus tax. So the Starbucks cappuccino is 30% more expensive than CafeX. And I've had a bunch of Starbucks cappuccinos. They're way worse than CafeX. So CafeX is a product that's better than Starbucks. I can get in way faster amount of time. A robot is making it, and it's 30% cheaper. And I can do more things like choose the actual roaster that I want to support. So I just think this is inevitably the future. And there's one thing missing from the CafeX experience, which is that human touch. So you might be saying like, well, I like knowing my barista. I like that human touch in the store. Sure, that's great in an ideal world where you have an hour or 2 or whatever. You're not in a rush. But if you think about making really good coffee cheaper and more accessible, I think that is really what CafeX is doing. And in many ways, there's sort of a complementary line to Starbucks' business, because the robot barista, the second CafeX that I went to, which was a stand on the street, a super small footprint for the cafe. These could go in a ton of different places. It's super versatile sort of retail concept that's much smaller than what a Starbucks would be. So that makes it way more flexible. You can put these in way more different places. I mean, you can imagine one day where every single office building you go to on every single floor has a CafeX. So I think it's just a lot more versatile product, and it's so much faster and more efficient that if you don't have the time to waste, like, this is just a better solution. So where's CafeX at today? The company is only 4 years old, founded by an entrepreneur by the name of Henry Hu, who's actually a Thiel fellow. I watched a couple of talks of his on YouTube, super impressed, a young guy, but he just has it all together. He has the vision down. I'm gonna put a link in the description to a couple talks he's given walking through the business model. They're so fascinating. I mean, CafeX, in my opinion, really wants to take this all the way. Like, they have 3 stores open today. They've raised $15 million worth of capital. They want to own and operate their own stores. According to my analysis of the company, the 3 stores are very centrally located, very close to another, so it's easy to like refill the coffee beans and different supplies at each store because they use one of them as a central hub. So I love this little model, and I think they're just constantly testing the economics of their machine, just really figuring out the most optimal way to set up and run these cafes. And this is why I think it's the perfect time for Starbucks to buy this company, because Starbucks is a massive company, tens and tens of billions of dollars market cap, tens and tens of thousands of stores all around the globe, and CafeX is on the cutting edge of leveraging software and robotics technology to make a significant amount of Starbucks locations just obsolete if you could get cheaper, better, faster coffee. And so I think Starbucks can either wait for CafeX to figure out its business model, start expanding, and start getting way, way more expensive and pricier, and potentially leaving it on the table for another coffee company like Peet's or Dunkin' Donuts to buy them. So I just think every day that Starbucks doesn't buy CafeX, they get less and less negotiating power by the day. I mean, this is, to me, just so obviously the future. Like, I love outside the box ways at which robotics and software can disrupt industries that you think are so normal and just mundane. And CafeX is a perfect example of that. They're leveraging, better software than ever, cheaper robots than ever to really come up with this new solution, which I think is an amazing product. So, that is my Moonshot Monday. With 3 locations and the technology, they're only 4 years old. They raised $15 million. I think Starbucks could spend between $50 to $100 million, which is nothing for them, immediately acquire CafeX, start expanding the concept, working with it, and really take this all the way. And I think this could be a huge new growth driver for Starbucks, because if you're thinking about smaller retail footprints where you can't fit a full Starbucks store, CafeX is the perfect solution. So I think this would be a huge growth avenue for Starbucks. I mean, long term, I see the potential for tens, probably hundreds of thousands of CafeX style robot baristas all around the world. And there's literally 3 locations today. And so I think this is the time for Starbucks to do it. If they keep waiting, I think CafeX will be a multi-billion-dollar company as a standalone if they actually succeed and execute this vision. So this is a company I'm watching super closely. I had a blast going into the CafeX store. I talked to a couple of employees, super nice, super smart. I just love the vibe of what they're doing, the way they're getting into snacks as well. I just think this is the coffee shop of the future. Anyway, this is Hyperchange. That's Moonshot Monday. I'm pounding the table, sipping my cappuccino. It's actually done, but that Starbucks needs to buy CafeX. Anyway, would love to know what you think in the comments below. Does this make sense? Have you been to CafeX? Are there other robot barista companies I should know about? Also, huge shout out to Jason Calacanis for putting CafeX on my radar, because I just think they're an awesome company. Wouldn't have made this episode without it. Anyway, this is Hyperchange. If you like the channel and you want to support, definitely check out our Patreon page and check out all the rewards there. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.